first thing that I would like to talk about today is how to select the right outdoor cage. There is above ground cages and then there's in ground cages. Above ground cages would be like inflatable cages, freestanding cages, bolt down cages, which would have a pad that's on the ground that you would bolt the pole down to, and then you could remove the bolts and remove the pole with that. There's also in-ground cages. In-ground cages are ones where the concrete is in the ground with a sleeve, or the pole gets inserted to the ground and then the concrete goes around the pole to make sure it's very sturdy. The types of in-ground cages are varsity, collegiate, and pro model. The varsity frame has intermediate sections that go throughout the tunnel. They're like upside down U's basically. We call them midsections. With our pro models and with our collegiate frames, there's actually not a pole that's above the ceiling of the net. You just have cable lines that run from one side of the cage down to the other side. There'd be nothing intermediately between those. The collegiate model has a less durable steel pole. The pro model is going to usually be a 6 5/8 or 8 5/8 inch outside diameter, whereas the collegiate frames are 3.5 outside diameter. They're a little bit less beefy, and with that they also sometimes need kickers that come down at a 45-degree angle from the pole that go to the middle of the cage to kind of keep those poles upright when that tension on the cable line starts to happen. Because if the tension on the cable line is too much for those poles and they start to bow inward, then naturally your net's going to start to sag in the middle. It's very important for me to note that all cages can fit in the space you have. You don't have to have a huge area to get any one type of these different cages. You could have a 35-foot long by 15-foot wide space and you could still get any of the aforementioned cage systems that we offer. It's very important to make sure on all sides of the cage, there'd be 4 sides, you have at least 2 to 3 feet beyond that to make sure the ball has room and the net has room to move around without ricocheting or damaging stuff that you own. All of our in-ground cages, those poles are going to need to go at least 3 to 5 feet in the ground depending on your soil conditions. The installation of the cage system is pretty simple. Get your ground level first. If you're going to put turf down, then you would put crushed rock base on top of compacted dirt. And if you're not going to go with turf, it's always good to just make sure that anywhere in the cage doesn't have a bunch of holes, because people will be walking through there picking up balls. You don't want someone to roll their ankle or get injured. Dig your hole, and if you put a sleeve in, then you're going to concrete that sleeve into the hole, and then you'd place the pole into the sleeve. If you decide not to use sleeves, you will bore your hole to the depth that you need to be, depending on your soil condition. You would place the pole into the hole, and then you would concrete around it to make it secure. From that point is when you get your brackets attached to the poles and you run your cable lines. From pole to pole, tension your cable lines, hang the net, and you're ready for use. If you're interested in a cage outdoors, please feel free to reach out to us at Practice Sports and we'd be happy to set you up. Thank you for your time.